to what you like?
No, I was more telling you that.
Oh.
Just giving you the.
Oh, just let me know that.
Yeah, because you'll be going around.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I know.
Right in here. Okay, good evening, everybody. I will call the March 25th, 2026 meeting of the Solana Beach City Council to order. Let the record show that all council members except for Councilmember Becker are present tonight. City Attorney, any items to report from closed session?
No, Mayor, no reportable action. Thank you.
Very good. Please stand and join me in the flag salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no proclamations or presentations, so we're at the approval of the agenda. City Manager, any changes proposed?
Mayor, no changes tonight.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Motion by Zito, second by Edson. Please vote. That passes 4-0 with one absent. Do we have any oral communication speakers? None. Okay. We're going to go right on to announcements. So I have some mayor's announcements, and I know the city manager has some after me. And then we'll ask the council. Okay, I've got 2 pages worth. All righty. Loma Santa Fe East improvements. The city is pleased to announce that finally the Loma Santa Fe Corridor East Improvements Project is now out to bid. The project will upgrade the stretch of Loma Santa Fe Drive east of I-5 to Highland Drive, featuring roadway, bike, and sidewalk improvements, as well as new landscaping and street trees. We anticipate a contractor selection by June, and once the council has an approved contract, a comprehensive public outreach effort will commence. The Fletcher Cove ribbon cutting. Earlier this month, the city completed the Fletcher Cove Improvements Project. To celebrate the upgraded access ramp, stairs and railing, storm grate, and shower areas will hold a ribbon cutting on Wednesday, April 8th at 4 p.m. at the top of the beach access ramp. We invite the community to join us in celebrating these enhancements to one of our most treasured spaces. Heritage Museum of Roof Repair and Closure Notice. The Heritage Museum at La Colonia Park will be temporarily closed starting Monday, March 30th for a roof replacement project identified in the city's work plan. Construction is expected to be completed by Monday, April 6th, and the museum will reopen to the public on Tuesday, April 7th. We appreciate the community's patience as we complete this important work to help preserve the building and its exhibits. The annual Children's Spring Festival and Egg Hunt will take place on Saturday, April 4th at 10 a.m. at La Colonia Park. The Egg Hunt is open to children in 3rd grade or younger, and families are asked to bring their own baskets. The event will feature free fun jumps, crafts, piñatas, refreshments, and photos with the Spring Bunny. For more information, please contact the Parks and Rec Department at 858-720-2453. Page 2. Summer day camp registration. Attention parents, summer day camp registration will open to residents starting Wednesday, April 8th at 9 a.m. and non-residents on April 15th. Junior lifeguard registration is already open and spots are filling up. We look forward to summer fun with your kids. Solana Striders. Active seniors are invited to join the Solana Striders Community Walk on Monday, April 6th at 8:30 a.m. starting at La Colonia Park. This month's walk will include a guided tour of La Colonia Park and the historic La Colonia de Eden Gardens neighborhood. And finally, the Solana Beach Kindness Drive is ongoing. Solana Beach Cares is still collecting new household cleaning supplies through the end of March to support local families. Donations can be dropped off here at City Hall or at the Solana Beach Library. For a list of approved items, visit the city's website or sign up for our weekly updates. City Manager.
Yes. So last month, many of you residents, Solana Beach residents, participated in our most recently independent conducted community survey. Your feedback was incredibly valuable and will help us to guide our decisions about the future of our city. So now that the survey is closed, we look forward to sharing some of those results with you in the future and the council as well, and then continuing to use that information as we engage on the budget process. So just a short update tonight from the city manager.
Very good. Any other council members have any updates for the community? Nope. Okay, we're on to consent. Items listed on the consent calendar are to be acted upon in a single action of the City Council unless pulled for discussion. Any member of the public may address the council on an item of concern through the city clerk. Items removed from the consent calendar by a member of the public will be discussed immediately following approval of the consent calendar, and any items pulled by council will be trailed to the end of the agenda. City clerk, have any members of the public pulled anything? Council, you want to pull anything? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as is? Motion by Edson, second by Zito. Please vote. That passes 4-0 with one absent. We have no public hearings. We're going right on to staff reports. City manager.
Yes, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council, and the public. Tonight, our item L1 is the mid-year budget adjustments for fiscal year 2026. Tonight, we have Rachel Jacobs, who's our finance director, who will give the presentation. Rachel?
Thank you, City Manager. As mentioned, tonight we will go over the fiscal year 26 mid-year budget update. Staff is requesting to increase revenues by $1,250,000 for the general fund and $30,000 for the Measure S fund. The increase for the property tax and motor vehicle and lieu fees are based on the projections that were given to us by HDL and the County of San Diego. The increase shown here for the building plan check fee is based on the actual year-to-date revenues have exceeded our budgeted revenues. And lastly, there is an increase for Chandler Investments due to our actual and projected revenues being higher than what we originally budgeted. Staff also analyzed the actual and projected expenditures against budget and is recommending these mid-year expenditure updates for a net total increase of $546,504 to the general fund. There's $25,000 being requested to increase in equipment and supplies shown across the various departments here. Most notably would be the auto transfer switch for the City Hall generator at $10,000. For professional services, we're requesting $321,405. Most notable in this department is the S-Gill contract for $250,000 for building services, which is paid for through the building plan check fees that we request those revenues increased as well. $60,000 for salary and benefit increases. This is for the Marine Safety Department. This is related to backfilling positions, covering for trainings and leave, as well as providing a COLA increase earlier than previously budgeted for our part-time and seasonal staff. And lastly, $140,000 is being requested for vehicle purchases for the parking enforcement and also the fire chief. Here's a look at the originally adopted budget, as well as any changes through council action. The original projected surplus when we adopted the budget was $146,731 for general fund. We've had 2 council resolutions to add additional expenditures, bringing that surplus to $117,131. Taking a look at the recommended changes in tonight's report. So we have the increase in the revenues as well as the increased expenditures, which creates a projected surplus of $820,627 for the general fund. Here's a look at the Measure S fund. When we originally adopted the budget, we projected approximately $2.4 million in surplus. We've made 2 budget adjustments, and the projected surplus was 2.5 prior to tonight's resolution. After staff's recommendations to increase the revenues by $30,000, that will increase the projected surplus to $2.5 million for Measure S fund. Staff also analyzed the revenues and expenditures in all other funds and recommends these mid-year adjustments. We recommend increasing total revenues by $423,000 and increasing expenditures by $385,210 for a net change of $37,790. The most notable changes for the increase in revenue is again related to interest, again, the investment interest. And the most notable expenditures are the $100,000 for the additional cost for the fire station alert upgrades, which was in a resolution for tonight. And then also $100,000 for the LCP LUP fee study update. Staff's recommendation is to adopt Resolution 2026-018, approve the revised appropriations in the fiscal year 26 adopted budget, Exhibit A, and authorize the city treasurer to amend the fiscal year 2026 adopted budget accordingly. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Thanks, Rachel. Council, any questions? You're not on the board. There you go. Councilmember Zito.
Wait for my screen to change back. Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Great presentation. Seems like overall pretty good news to me. The one question I had is, having been in the seat for a while, I've seen a lot of updates, and with the exception of the COVID time, I would say every single time we get an update, there's always been an upward adjustment on sales tax revenue as well. And I know that we tend to budget very conservatively, and that's why that tends to happen. And I think that's a good thing. But I noticed there's no adjustment this time, and I'm wondering if there's any potential obvious reasons why that may have happened, why sales tax is coming as expected for one of the few times that that's actually happening.
Sure. I do have a hidden slide here that I will bring up, and then I can go into that a little further. So this chart here is a look at the sales tax and Measure S tax projections. So in the blue bar, that is the original HDL projection when we adopted the budget. The orange bars are for our actual budget that was adopted for fiscal year 26. The gray is the updated HDL projections, and then the yellowish color is basically our year-to-date actuals as well as the projections. And to get into that a little further, so HDL originally provided us a sales tax forecast back in March, which we used during our budget development process. Staff takes that number, and then we budget at 97% of whatever they provide us. And then in January, they provided us a revised projection based on the Q3 revenues, which would be through September 30th. The updated estimate was lower due to there was approximately $272,000 in one-time adjustments that were related to duplicate payments and business closeouts. And they negatively impacted our receipts and projections, but they are a one-time expense. And they do anticipate that the revenues will stabilize, especially as these new businesses come online. We did also, for the year-to-date actuals and projections, we reviewed the actual receipts for Q3 and Q4, which came in at 51% of budget for sales tax and then 53% for Measure S. So based on the actuals and projections for the next 2 quarters, we didn't anticipate needing to do any budget adjustments at this time, and just hope that they do come in higher than what we're budgeting at this point.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just know that, for example, as of last summer, we've had a whole bunch of new restaurants open up on 101. So I would expect to see that starting to kick in and generate some revenue. So maybe we'll get a pleasant surprise at the end of the year. Thanks. The only other question I have is, I don't need the answer right now, but I would be interested in just understanding, that was a huge bump percentage-wise with respect to building permit fees.
Mm-hmm.
And so just understanding the volume of permits versus just the dollars. So is this because the increase that we put in place, or are we really seeing a 60% higher volume in building permits coming through as well?
Okay, I can get that for you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Edson?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Rachel, for the presentation. I have a question that really isn't in the presentation, but in these uncertain times, there's been, I've read a number of articles and heard from a number of investment advisors that they're encouraging folks to have at least 3 to 5 times their annual expense set aside, so in or held in some sort of liquid cash or cash equivalent positions. What and you don't have to answer me now because you weren't prepared for this. I'm curious as to how the city measures up to that sort of scenario.
Yeah, we can run some ratios and provide that.
Perfect. Thank you.
And maybe just a little bit more to that. And I think you're talking about from a personal perspective, that's the advisement. We do, and Rachel, maybe you can take a moment though to share a little bit about how the council rather, has put money towards some of those safeguards, whether it be OPEB or our asset replacement. Could you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So we do have the different funds, as Alyssa mentioned. So we have a special fund for the pension stabilization. We have the OPEB. We have asset replacement and facilities replacement, and we've been putting money in those. And in addition to that, in the general fund itself, we have our reserve policy, which we did increase when we adopted the most recent budget. So that is also set aside in a separate category. And then we kind of have like a bottom line of what the unassigned fund balance is. So for looking ahead at, the types of ratios like we were mentioning, I would probably show you both a ratio of what it looks like compared to the things that we already have set aside, but then also compared to what that unassigned number is, just to show, how healthy we really are with our fund balance.
Maybe that could be a report on consent next meeting.
Sure.
That'd be great. So we could also-
Or can I suggest
Yeah.
that maybe as we are entering into the budget process, that could be incorporated?
Oh, yeah,
into the
that'd be
budget? Is
fine.
that fine?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. As long as we get to all share good questions. Appreciate it all.
I mean, we've always been known for our fiscal conservatism, here as a council. And I really think it's important to share with the public who may be feeling a little bit nervous in these uncertain times that we have been continuing along that path.
Yeah, good point. I don't see that we have any public speakers. So at this time, if there's no other questions, may I have a motion to approve staff recommendation, please? Councilmember Edson? Very good. Councilmember Zito? Okay, let's vote. That passes 4-0 with one absent. On to the next item, City Manager.
Yes. Next item, L2, is our Housing Element Annual Progress Report for fiscal year 24-25. This is also our mid-cycle report. If you remember our sixth cycle, we're about midway through. So staff will be presenting on that as a component of our reporting. This evening, we have John Delmer, our assistant planner, who will be presenting. And in addition, we have Katie Benson, our senior planner, here as well to answer any questions that might come up. So with that, John, please present.
John, you're going to have to speak a little closer to the mic and maybe perhaps a little louder.
Can you hear me now?
That's much better.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is consideration of resolutions 2026-024 and 2026-026, which would approve the Housing Element Annual Progress Report, the Housing Successor Annual Report, and direct staff to develop a priority processing program for extremely low income and special needs housing. If approved, staff will submit the APR to the California Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as HCD, as well as bring the priority processing program back to a future council meeting. So as you know, state law requires each jurisdiction to prepare an annual progress report outlining the implementation of its housing element. The current APR covers the period from January 1 to December 31st, 2025, and includes data on housing production during the sixth cycle of the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, which runs from 2021 to 2029. We are currently midway through the sixth cycle, and tonight's presentation will start with a brief mid-cycle evaluation on overall housing element implementation, and then highlight key data from the 2025 APR. Starting with the mid-cycle evaluation, this section reviews progress at the midpoint of the housing element cycle, including information in both housing production and program implementation. To date, the city has permitted a total of 215 housing units toward our RHNA obligation of 875 units. A significant portion of that progress has come from accessory dwelling units, where we've issued 110 permits so far in this planning period, achieving approximately 86% of our projected ADU production for the entire cycle. In addition to housing production, we've made strong progress on program implementation. Of the 37 housing element programs, 24 have been completed, and the rest are ongoing or will be completed by the end of the year. I'll go into further detail on the programs later in this presentation. Overall, while there is still work ahead, specifically in the very low income category, the city is making steady progress both in housing production and program implementation, and we're currently working on programs to facilitate low income housing production. Moving to the 2025 APR, the first table in the report, Table A, lists housing development applications that were deemed complete in 2025. This includes new and replacement units as well as ADUs, but excludes remodels and additions. In 2025, we received 37 applications for a total of 41 units, and of these applications, 24 were above moderate income units, 16 were moderate income non-deed restricted, which are ADUs, and 1 moderate deed restricted, which is a JDU. Table A2 provides data on net new housing units by affordability. For example, a replacement single-family residence would not be included in this table, but a new residence on a vacant lot or a new ADU would count. In this table, the projects are broken down into 3 stages of the application as shown on the screen: the entitlement approval in column A, the building permit issuance in column B, and the building permit final in column C. It should be noted that a unit counts towards the RENA allocation once the permit is issued, so the units shown in column B would count towards the RENA. In 2025, the city approved 4 entitlements with a combined 7 net new housing units, and 37 building permits were issued for a combined 37 units, and 14 units received final inspection. This graph includes data from Table A2, but compares it to the previous APRs spanning from 2021 to 2025 as you move left to right. Each year shows the 3 stages in the application process, starting with the blue bar representing the number of units that received entitlement. Orange is the units that received a permit issued, and gray, final inspection. It is expected that the same project will be reported in multiple years of APRs. For example, you can see the spike of issued building permits in 2021 and final permits in 2023 is due to the sandbox or the Solana 101 project. The spike in issued permits in 2024 is attributed to the Solana Highlands project. Table B outlines the status of the city's RENA allocation and implementation as of 2025. To date, the city has issued building permits for 80 moderate income units, 80 above moderate income units, and 103 moderate income units, and 32 low income units. This brings the total number of units permitted to 215 out of the 875 included in the RENA allocation for the 6th cycle. Table D provides an itemized status report on the implementation of the 37 housing element programs. As discussed in the mid-cycle evaluation, the city has completed 24 of the 37 housing element programs, which include programs such as hosting workshops and multiple zoning code updates, such as the ADU and density bonus regulations. 10 of the 37 programs are annual or ongoing, and we will continue to monitor those throughout the 6th cycle planning period. The remaining 3 programs, Program 1M, 1O, and 3D, are expected to be completed this year, and I'll provide a status update on those on the next few slides here. Program 1M is intended to support development of housing for extremely low-income households and individuals with special needs. To implement Program 1M, staff is proposing to establish a priority processing program that is intended to reduce upfront development costs and streamline the permitting process for qualifying projects, which would include ADUs, that include units to affordable, to extremely low income, or that serve individuals with special needs. The program would include impact fee deferral and expedited permit review. Staff is requesting direction from City Council to return with a proposed ordinance to formally implement the program. Program 1O focuses on facilitating affordable housing development opportunities on city-owned land. As part of this effort, the city is preparing 3 requests for proposals to solicit development partners for affordable housing projects. The first RFP was released in November of 2024, and staff is currently drafting the 2nd and 3rd RFP, which are expected to be released in next month in April of this year. Issuance of these RFPs represents a key step in implementing Program 1O and advancing development of affordable housing on city-owned sites. Finally, the city is currently in the progress of implementing Program 1M by updating the safety element of the general plan. A draft safety element was routed to CAL FIRE. Comments were received from CAL FIRE, and they're currently being incorporated into the draft document. The updated safety element is anticipated to be back before you by the end of the year. With that, staff is recommending that the council adopt Resolution 2026-024 and 2026-026, approving the Housing Element Annual Progress Report, the Housing Successor Annual Report, and initiate the Priority Processing Program. If approved, staff will submit the APR to HCD, as well as bring back the Priority Processing Program to a future council hearing. That is the end of my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thanks, John. Well done. Any questions of John or other staff? I have just one question that I saw in, you didn't mention it in your report, but Table E, the commercial development bonus, it refers to a development bonus as prescribed by this certain government code. What are those? What is the development bonus that code would provide? It's when an applicant for approval of a commercial development has entered into an agreement for housing to contribute to affordable housing through a joint project or two separate projects encompassing affordable housing. The city, county, or city and county shall grant to a commercial developer a development bonus. Do you know what that is? I mean, we don't have anybody who's done that, but I'm just curious, should somebody come forward with that, what it is, what we're granting?
I'm not exactly sure at the moment, but I know we haven't had a project that it applies to, but I would be happy to look that information up and get back to you at a later date.
Yeah,
if that's
that'd be
possible.
fine.
Sorry
That'd be
about
fine.
that.
And it's just out of curiosity. Okay, I see no other questions or comments. I will entertain a motion. Councilmember Zito.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe I'll make a snide comment while I'm at it. But yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve staff recommendation and adopt Resolution 2026-024 and Resolution 2026-026 is outlined in the staff report. And thanks for the presentation. I'll just make the comment that I'll note that our staff is clearly better than HCD because it looks like our ADU production is on track to actually generate the number of units that we predicted, which they forced us to knock down because they didn't think we could produce that much. So good job. And I'd also like to note once again that we used to, before all these state laws were coming into place, be able to generate about one low-income unit a year by incentivizing that as a way to get to an ADU, but that disappeared. So now we no longer generate that one low-income unit a year because the state knows best. With that, my motion.
Yeah, I will agree with that. May I have a second, please? A second by Edson. Please vote. Okay, 4-0 with one absent. Item L3, City Manager.
Yes. So item L3 is the request for the council to approve a resolution to hire an interim assistant city manager. So as you may recall from our last meeting, our assistant city manager, Dan King, has moved on in his career to assume a new position at Encino Wastewater. So good luck to him. And I know he's on a much deserved vacation right now with his family. So in the interim, as we have already posted the recruitment for the permanent assistant city manager, and I think there's been some good interest already, we have been talking with an individual and would like to bring on as the interim assistant city manager, Jay Goldstone. Jay is a former colleague of mine, but he has over 40 years of experience in municipal government. He has worked at the City of San Diego most recently in an interim capacity as the chief operating officer, but had a previous stint there years before. He also has worked at kind of similar size cities as ours and coastal cities with Pasadena, Santa Clara, and Richmond as the interim city manager. So the agreement before you today is because he is a retired annuitant under CalPERS, the council must take an action to approve his hiring. And just to go over what the stipulations of his hiring would be is he would be at an hourly rate of $129.81 per hour. There are no benefits associated with that because he is a retired annuitant. He is limited to a discrete 960 hours in a fiscal year. So that does mean as we approach June 30th, there would be a reset on that clock. Though I am hopeful that as we move through the recruitment and get somebody on board, we can get them up to speed fairly quickly. And then Jay can resume his retired lifestyle of being a grandfather and enjoying other things outside. But in the meantime, I wanted to bring up Jay to have him say a couple words and introduce himself, answer any questions you may have. He will be working on some special projects, but also helping with our day-to-day, having had the experience in this capacity before. But with Jay, do you want to say a couple words to the council and the mayor?
Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. And when Alyssa and I started talking about this opportunity, I was very excited about it. I don't retire well. This is, I think, the third time I'm coming out of retirement to do some interim work, and I had done some limited work with the city on wastewater rate before, so a little bit of familiarity. But very excited about this opportunity. Look forward to working with the city council, with staff, the community as Alyssa sees fit, and very excited.
Wonderful. Well, we're very happy that you're here. Thank you for taking time out of your retirement, which I understand not doing it well. I've got a funny feeling I might be that sort of person at one point as myself. But thank you for being here. I've heard your name so often over the past God knows how many years, and I've never had the pleasure of meeting you. So welcome to the city of Solana Beach. We're very happy to have you filling some shoes for a while. As you might have, if you watched the last meeting, it was kind of an emotional one for all of us because it was, Dan had been here for 23 years, has a lot of institutional knowledge. I know that you're going to be bringing a whole lot of professional knowledge with you here to the city. So we appreciate you being here now, helping Alyssa out in the city, and then whoever our candidate is that gets hired, I'm working with them too to bring them up to speed. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, Councilman Bredson. No? Okay, may I have a motion, please, to adopt staff recommendations? Appointing.
You to make that motion, but I also wanted to wish you congratulations and thank you for coming on board. I missed Dan's going away party. I was sick last time, my first council meeting missed in over 9 years, which was pretty sick. But thank you for coming. Thank you for being in this position. I've had the experience with a couple of occasions where we've hired an interim, and it's a wonderful thing because you get a chance to have fresh eyes, but you also have a chance to, it takes the stress off of needing to hire somebody right away, and allows you to really take your time in choosing the perfect candidate to fill a job permanently. So thank you again for being here. Nice to meet you.
Very good. Thank you. So it looks like a motion by McDonald, and Councilmember Edson, would you like to second that?
Certainly.
Very good. Let's vote. That passes 4-0 with Becker absent.
And that is the perfect lead-in to another interim employee that we have. Interim Fire Chief Colin Stoll is going to be presenting on our last item. And as you so nicely stated, it has been very helpful to have Chief Stoll on board, helping us with the recruitment for the fire chief, helping the city of Del Mar, the city manager, and myself to really get our arms around what is needed of our new department. We're approaching the end of the month, and we will be severing that cooperative agreement with Encinitas at that time. But we are in good hands with our interim chief, with the staff in both the Solana Beach and Del Mar Station, who have really stepped up and shown great leadership throughout the entirety of our floor staff. And we see some real future opportunities for those professionals to continue to promote within our departments. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Stoll to give an overview of the professional services agreement for the fire station alerting system upgrade.
Thank you, Alyssa, and good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Thanks for having me here tonight. And my purpose here is to go ahead and present some information on our recommendation for a new station alerting system and any of the justifications that you may need for the approval of the sole source. A little background, as you know, your fire station right up the street was built in the early 90s. At that time, the station alerting system was Comtech, and that was really the standard several decades ago for the alert system from the dispatch to the fire stations there. This to give you a little knowledge of what the station alerting system is, I mean, it's really your backbone of your emergency services system. That's where after the call is intake by the dispatcher, the call taker gathers that information, and even before they get enough information to know exactly what's going on, they're already alerting those crews to an emergency and some of the information that they have there. And so you can imagine how critical your station alerting system is to not only getting the proper information, getting the right resources out there, but to do that in a timely manner. So certainly critical to the success of our crews to get out there and provide those services. A picture goes a long ways, right? And you can see what a 30-year-old system looks like in this fire station right now. This system is over 30 years old. It was installed at the time of the station build. And as you can imagine, it has had a lot of failures. It is no longer manufactured. It is no longer serviced. And in the past, when we have had issues with it, it has been serviced by a company called Sound Image out of Escondido, which can no longer get any parts. In fact, they haven't been able to get any parts for quite some time and have used spare parts from other systems that they've been able to gather. So we've really kind of kept this system alive with Band-Aids up until this point. Up there as you know, we're dispatched by North County Dispatch JPA, and in 2018 they developed a subcommittee to decide really what should be the standard station alerting system. They did their studies and they took a recommendation to the North Zone Fire Chiefs at that time to recommend U.S. Digital Designs by Honeywell as the standard of that system, and it is integrated now in the main hub of that is integrated into the dispatch center up there. Now, Comtech was used, as I mentioned before, by a lot of agencies here throughout San Diego County, but very few of them are still operable. And when I talked to them lately, they said the only 3 that are still there are phasing them out and are going through the same process that we're going through. And so that is the standard right now with North County Dispatch JPA, and like I said, it's been integrated into their system. So where are we moving forward to? You can compare this picture to the one a couple ago, and this is the main module that would be at the fire station now. This G2 station controller is the one that receives the information from North County Dispatch. It also sends an acknowledgement right back to the dispatch center that all of that information has been there. We don't have that with Comtech right now. And so North County Dispatch gets the information right away that it's been received by that fire station and is alerting those units. Got a nice large screen there. The zoned alerting, that allows us to program this to alert certain rooms and areas in that fire station, so you don't have just a general alarm system. And we'll talk about some of the benefits of that here in a few minutes. The DTMF paging, that's allowing it to take some numbers in digital, similar to like when you touch your iPhone or any phone, and it recognizes the number that you push. It can convert it to a voice activation and recognizes that as well. The local and remote monitoring and logging, and then of course the ability to update any of the software remotely. This unit right here is the room remote that is installed in each of the dormitory rooms in the fire station, as well as the workout room, the training room, the offices, any of those areas that we want to be able to gather that information. If you look at the screen, really what it shows is it shows the units that it's dispatched to. It allows the person occupying that room to adjust the volume, to set it to whatever they want for that to be alerting them to the calls, backlit LEDs, the ramped up lighting as far as the dispatching that. I grew up in the fire service where, of course, we lived in a large dormitory area, but when those tones went off, it was at full volume. All of the lights came on in the fire station, and you can imagine what that really did to the human body, right? And they've done a lot of studies to the stress and the disruption for these folks as far as how you wake up to these emergencies. And so this allows you to be able to control that. As this specifically to Solana Beach Fire Station. So you've got multiple units there. You've got your truck and your engine. Right now, when the tones go off, everybody gets up. And the engine goes out a lot more than the truck. And so what you're doing is you are unnecessarily waking up some of the members there at the fire station that should not have to wake up, disrupt their sleep. It causes fatigue, it causes stress and wear and tear, of course, on them. This is the ability for the individual to know and program what unit they are riding on that day. And so when that call comes in for that specific unit, it's only their room that illuminates as well as gives the voice and the dispatch information. So hopefully the others will not be interrupted and they'll be able to continue for their rest. These signs that are also available now that we can put, they will put over in some of the doorways in the common area, like in the dining room. It will give the information of that dispatch. If you can't hear it, if it's mumbled, it gives them a good visual of that. This little stop clock, we call it a shoot clock or a turnout clock. We put those in there. It's kind of a conscious awareness for the individuals to know how long that dispatch has already taken place. And sometimes, you know, we shoot for 1.5 minutes to get out of the fire stations, and that's a standard turnout time. But you know, when you're doing activities or you're being interrupted in your meals or whatever, it's hard to really know how quickly you are responding and getting out of the fire station. This gives them a visual about how long it's already been, and so we also put one right outside the apparatus door so they know how long it's taken them to get dressed and get out the door for those emergencies. And then the last one is the speaker that's installed in all of the rooms in the common areas. Not only are these programmable, so only those activate in the areas that need to be, but it also has that illumination that starts dim and then starts gradually increasing until you're not exposed to a white, light that wakes everybody up, but it's going to start very dim and then it increases, and then they can exit their room and through the common areas under a little bit more, so they don't get the blindness of the bright lights right when it comes on. And so these are just some of the benefits of the alert system that is being recommended. This is really these are the standards. This is the advanced technology. And I can't reiterate enough that the alert system is not something you want to wait until it's broken to fix. You want to be ahead of it and make sure that you address these things before, because of the time it takes to not only procure it but to install it there. You could see significant downtime in your alert system if you wait till failure. And so I would say we know that this current alert system is way beyond its life expectancy, and so not only are we seeing a much more advanced alert system, but very much in need for our folks to be able to continue to provide this professional services that they do. And so with that, I'll conclude my presentation and answer any questions you might have.
That was really interesting. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the humanity, I guess, that went into designing this system and taking our firefighters' health and self-care into consideration. So appreciate that. Councilmember Zito.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks also for the presentation. Really good information. I guess being someone who likes to figure out how these things happen, so is the new system going in the same place as the old system? And if so, how do they, I assume the old system keeps running. We're not going to have any downtime, right?
The old system will eventually come out and it'll be
Right.
replaced. And so that will be removed, but it'll stay in place during the installation of this.
So the new system has to be located physically somewhere else then, while the old system's still being
Correct.
used, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we have enough space for that, and it still is a good place for it to be.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, great.
There'll
thanks.
be no interruption in services.
It looks like we'll have a huge area that's freed up from all those wires, right?
Well, we'll have a lot of patching of the walls to do
Yeah.
and some of that, but yes, much more, space conscious and cosmetically attractive for sure.
Yes, definitely. I see no other questions. Deputy Mayor, as the North County Dispatch JPA member, would you like to make a motion for this? Very good. May I have a second, please? Councilmember Edson made a second, and I'll call for the vote. That passes 4-0 with one absent. Thank you.
And I want to thank the fire personnel. I think Zach Toth is our facilities personnel who's been in charge of doing the research, and working with the vendor to have them come in and scope out the station. And so thank you to the team that has been working on that. And similarly with the vehicles earlier on the agenda, I think Carson Hodges has been working on the vehicle procurement. And so thank you to all the team that has been committed, and Luis as well on that.
Absolutely. It's been a great crew, and they certainly have contributed a lot to the product here and what we'll see in the fire station as well.
Great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
right.
much. Okay. Well, it's a short meeting, but we got a lot of really heavy-duty stuff done. I will say that. This is way shorter than I thought it would be. So we are now on to legislative correspondence. I think we had one letter.
Yes, we had a letter that we issued, a letter of support for Sandag on funding for the Regional Beach Sand Project 3 that we sent to Congressman Levin on March 18th. And so we'll make that available on the website if it's not already up.
Okay, very good. Any work plan comments? Councilmember Zito.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mayor. I think most of us may be noting this, but I thought it was worth bringing up in the forum, which is over the recent months, I've had a lot of people starting to approach me about concerns about backing up on Loma Santa Fe. And it seems like something has maybe changed ever since we switched to the in-road sensors, to the camera sensors. And being an engineering type, I've been out there trying to observe this. And it's like, yeah, there's a really weird backup now, but then it doesn't happen again. So I don't know.
But it seems to happen on the weekend. Have you
and
noticed
it
that?
tends to be more on the weekends, but I'm also out more on the weekends. So I don't, I work during the days now, so I'm not out as much, but I do get out. But it does seem to like it'll be the middle of the day Saturday. It's school traffic issues during non-school times seem to be happening. So I was wondering if, we could, I know we have some things in the work plan. Maybe the city manager could talk about that, but actually make sure we're putting some focus on this particular thing. And if we need to do a study or something just to understand what's going on with this new equipment.
Yeah. So in your last item, I'll lead in, and then if Aurelia has anything else to add. In your last council meeting, you did approve an amendment to the contract with Unix, who is going to be doing some additional work on the cabinetry, which talks to those cameras, updating that, as well as the Opticom. So if as it relates to emergency services, using that same corridor. So we will be doing those modifications. We can definitely include and make sure that's highlighted in the work plan as we do the updates in the next couple months to plan for or analyze to solve for whatever the mitigate for any congestion changes that have happened with the new technology. And maybe Aurelia has additional information to add or any other thoughts.
I did. So the signal cabinets, they should be replaced by mid-April. Beginning of May. And then one of the projects as well, we increased the consulting capacity with STC Traffic Engineering, and that's one of the items on our task list for them to look at as well. The signal timing hasn't been updated, just for full transparency, in over 20 years. And this will really give us the opportunity to study the existing technology and update that signal timing as well. But we do recognize that this is an issue we need to address. We were actually talking about it for Loma Santa Fe East, and we said 11 to 1. This is when we're getting all the traffic. So I think the new data from the cameras as well will be very helpful.
Oh, thanks. And may I just continue? So, yeah, thanks for that. There's great information. That's what I'm asking for. But and again, it's just also making sure we're focusing on the intermittent type challenges that might be happening as well. I know my daughter was leaving our house and she spent 3 minutes at the fire station trying to turn left onto Loma Santa Fe. The light never changed. She was there for 3 minutes. And
That's weird.
It's like, but I've been there lots and it hasn't happened to me. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
me
usually
neither,
on a
and I'm
bike.
there often.
But it
yeah.
was just that one time, right? It's like, okay, why did it happen to her then? But there's just weird stuff going on.
Yeah, there's gremlins in the system of some sort, I think. Councilmember Edson?
Yeah, so just to tag on to that, it's interesting because Via de la Valle has been pretty much the same, especially on the weekends. I'm attributing some of it to the fact that we've been having stellar winter weather, and it's been really heating up inland, and a lot of people are coming to the beach. I literally could not pull out and turn left on Via de la Valle. I waited like 10 minutes, I think Saturday or Sunday, ended up turning right and just going through Del Mar. It was easier.
Yeah, wow. So, Deputy Mayor?
So just to clarify, are you talking about going east or going west or both?
It's really both. I mean, I live in the quadrant of the city that I live in, so those are the people that complain about it more, and they're heading more to the east because that's where the quadrant. But I've noticed it both directions because I'll be biking out of Vaughn's and I'm like, what's this huge line of traffic here waiting to go west as well? Just notice often. And relative, glad to get your perspective, but I've also had two people now come to me and tell me that where they live in my part of town, instead of going down Loma Santa Fe, they're now going down 101 and turning left on Vita La Valle because they find it faster than going down Loma Santa Fe. And,
So maybe they're the troublemakers.
it could be, but that's clearly not a strategy that'll hold up well through the summer once the fair kicks in and the races kick in. So
Yeah.
anyway,
And so, I mean, that is true from my neighborhood, is that I debate, am I going to go down San Andres to go to Vita de Valle, or am I going to go, to the freeway to go south? And I think the choice, if you ask people who live in that part of Solana Beach, would say they'll choose San Andres to avoid, because there are multiple traffic lights. There's one at Via Mil Cumbres, and there's one at the shopping center, then there's one
Las Banderas.
at near the freeway, and we could come back to that after I'm off city council.
There's history to that, Jay. We'll tell you about it. Okay, all right. Thank you for bringing that up, though, because it has been a real problem, and it's baffling because even during school time, there's nothing on Stevens, but it's blocked going east on Loma Santa Fe. It's been very strange. So thank you for looking into it. So any compensation and reimbursement disclosures? No. And then how about council commission reports? We had the Sandag Board retreat on Thursday and Friday, had some really good in-depth discussions about Transnet, what's the future of where we can go with that, what projects, what's left that's not already bonded on. We discussed managed lanes on Friday. There were a lot of really, really very productive conversations that shows why a retreat is worthwhile, I think. All right, that's it for the evening. I will adjourn. Oh, Councilmember Edson?
Yes, I remembered that I did have last week things happen. So last week was the Los Angeles Board meeting as well as the North County Transit District Board meeting. And at both of those meetings, the boards unanimously adopted opposition to Senate Bills 677 and Senate Bill 908, which are follow-on bills to Senate Bill 79. So I think it's really important for residents to understand what's happening with these particular bills, because they will definitely change the whole complexion of the coastline and Sprinter Corridor, as well as Coaster Corridor and Los Angeles Corridor.
Well, I might as well mention, well, it's early, and so those who are watching at home, because many people do watch us at home, what this is all about is SB 79 was last year's bill, which created radii around certain train stations where 48 trains stopped, and also in certain bus lines, bus stops as well. And if you were a qualifying train station, that would entitle a developer by right to up to 8 stories of development within a quarter-mile or a half-mile radius of a train station. We do not believe that we have been captured by this, but some folks have, HCD has issued some guidelines that seem to interpret the legislation in a manner that, in a way that we don't read it. But it says that Solana Beach is captured, which means that a good 25% of our city, which is a very big chunk because we are so small, unlike the city of San Diego, which would have 1% of its city, captured by this radius, which would allow, again, by right, up to 96 feet tall buildings in our city. I want to say that again, up to 96 feet tall buildings by right, never coming to the city council, just going to the building department, getting a permit if it meets a few objective guidelines, but then they might ask for a density bonus and waive whatever those objective standards are. They could do whatever they want with our city without us having any say about it at all. So stand by. We are working on strategies and actions that folks can take, and we will let you all know what those are. Councilmember Edson?
Yes, just to add a little more information to that, NCTD and LoSAN took these actions after LA Metro which, is all of the transit in LA County, which is huge. And Orange County Transit, OCTA, also took this action to oppose these bills. So there's a bit of a, people are sitting up and taking notice of what's happening in Sacramento, and they're being brave enough to band together and say enough is enough. This doesn't work for us.
Well, it's bad planning. Yeah, it's just plain bad planning.
Right. So it's important that people are aware of this and that they talk to their state elected officials and say, we don't want this. This
Yeah, vote
doesn't,
no, oppose.
we voted for you and you're not representing us, or the, quality of life that we're used to in our communities.
Yeah. It's definitely over the top, and it would change our city. It would transform our city from a beach town to a downtown density level urban metropolis, which is not what we all bought into. It's not the quality of life that we have invested in. It's not what we put our biggest amount of money into our investment, which is our home. We did not count on that sort of thing happening. And if you think the traffic is bad now, imagine if we double the population in one small area of the city. So it's a really bad bill. And so we will all have to band together and do something to be determined, depending on what legislation comes out, because some things have been shelved and some things have been gutted and amended. So we will let everybody know what needs to take place over the next weeks. So with that lovely note, I will now adjourn this meeting until April 8th. Good night, all.